But I think we're ready to go. So, hey, welcome to Coffee Connect, everybody. I'm Rodney. I'm the host. Today, we're going to have some great conversations. You're going to get a chance to meet some great people in the midst of all of this as well. I would ask that if you enjoy the conversations and you want to know more about Coffee Connect and the topics that are upcoming, do me a favor, email me at ccinfo@addictedtoconnecting.com. I'm happy to get you onto the invite list so that you know the upcoming topics for the following weeks as well. Guys, you can always go back to www.addictedtoconnecting.com and check out the YouTube channel as well, learn more about the entire group and stuff, and check out past episodes of Coffee Connect, right? And so always looking forward to new folks. We got lots of new folks on here today. Anyway, we're here to learn about data today and how it makes us stronger, how it makes better connections for us, and how it can help lead us both in our job searches and in our business. Without any further ado, give it up for Joe Bender, guys.
Good morning, and I'll start you with my tagline. Happy non-Monday, everybody. When I was, I'm a retired assisting people in job transition. When I did work, I was an IT professional in PC training and also data analysis. So using this particular piece of software kind of marries those two. And typically the class that I used to teach at the library would have taken about 90 minutes. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version today. So there's some features that we will not cover. But let's see here. Now I'm going to get into the share, and I'm going to start with this. And there's a few things going on right now. And I'm going to get into two different screens here. One is, and I'm trying to navigate around my, for those in the Cincinnati area, you can get access to this through the Cincinnati Public Library or Kenton County Public Library. You can get access to it in Columbus, Cleveland, Chicago, Denver, Milwaukee, basically any large major metropolitan library should have this. And the best thing about it is if you have a library card, I would say 99% of the time it's going to be free. And if you're in job search, free is your friend. And if you're looking, and maybe you're not looking for a job, but maybe you're working with your church to help raise funds, you can find, this can help you find businesses, say within 5 miles of your church. I'll show you how to do that, or 5 miles of your school, or wherever, whatever neighborhood you might be in. In Cincinnati, you would come into this particular screen, and then you go to research databases, and then business, and they
Hey,
call
Joe,
it.
we're not
Yes.
seeing that side. What we're seeing, it looks like something that's in a PDF.
Okay. Got to change the share. Blah, blah, blah. No, I don't want to. Fair enough. Okay. Now do you see that? Okay. So now where I came in on Cincinnati Public Library, it's under research databases, and then you go to business, and they call it reference solutions. Kenton County would argue that Reference Solutions is the name of the company and the Data Axle is the name of the software. So now if I go to, now can you see the Kenton County Public Library?
Yes.
Somebody say yes. I can't hear your head.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So now if you go into digital library and then business and career, they call it Data Axle dash Reference Solutions. So depending on your library, they might call it different things. So just kind of starting with that up front. Blah, blah, blah. Now, where this screen share comes down is kind of messing with me here a little bit. I don't need that. And so now I got to get back to this. Okay, now can you see the PDF again?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Okay. When you get into Data Axle, there are you'll see this screen here. It'll say U.S. businesses, and then that's what you want to click, and that will take you to a screen like what's on page 2. And we're going to use Sherwin-Williams, the paint company, today as an example. In March, I presented this to the Beechwood Job Seekers group, and that's in the Akron, Cleveland area. So I used a Cleveland-based company for this, but it still works. You can throw Procter and Gamble or Kroger, or Nationwide, whatever company you want to, depending on where you live in here. This is when you know the name of the company. Okay, you can throw in this case, Sherwin-Williams. Now, nationwide, if I don't use any other filter, there's 4,000 results for Sherwin-Williams nationwide. If you just go in and put Ohio in the state, and this is a drop down, it has all the names of the states. You don't have to enter anything. You can just go down and click Ohio. There's 200 results. But if I type in Cleveland in the city and then hit view results, there are 13 results. And these are those. Can everybody see this screen? The second from the bottom is Heidi Petz. She is the CEO of Sherwin-Williams. And I found her on LinkedIn. Didn't send a connection request or anything, but there are people in here that you can find. And there are people, in here that you can find in LinkedIn. Can you see the up and down arrows on the right-hand side of the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The up arrow indicates that facility reports up in a hierarchical structure. The down arrows indicate that that's probably either a main branch or a main location, or it might even be the headquarters. They have subsidiaries underneath them, so that's why that points down. If you see an arrow pointing up and down, like on this 1/3 from the bottom, that means that they're a little bit of both. They would be they have subsidiaries that report up to them, but then they also report further up in the structure. If you think about Coca-Cola, their world headquarters are in Atlanta, and I didn't check this, but my guess would be that they probably have some kind of satellite office in Denver or something. Denver would report up to Atlanta, but then there would be, Utah and Wyoming and all the cities around Denver that would report up to Denver. So think of it that way, that when they have the up and down arrows, they do a little bit of both. If we select the main record for Sherwin-Williams, you would go in and you would see that this is their home address, 101 West Prospect Avenue, Cleveland. The zip code, the county that it's in is Cuyahoga, the phone numbers. This would be a link to their website. And I found out, interestingly enough, that House of Color was the name for Valspar, which they acquired, I believe, in 2017 or 2018. And that's where their current CEO used to work. If we scroll down a little further in the industry profile, these SIC codes are what we will use in the second part when we do the advanced search to look for other companies within an industry. So, and you see here on the right-hand side, this check says that retail paint is their primary business. So they do other things, and most large companies you will find that they are federal government contractors. It's just a kind of a generic term that they throw in there, but they also do paint and wallpaper. They do wholesale paint, and they manufacture paint. So those are kind of two numbers I'm going to write down here real quick. But these are their codes, and this is what we will use in the advanced side to look up other companies. If you scroll down a little further on that particular thing, you will see the business profile. They tell you Sherwin-Williams was founded in 1866, blah, blah, blah. If you have a smaller company that's private, you may not see a business profile necessarily. So it's nothing you did wrong, or it's just the more public a company is, the better this information typically will be. And the kind of the joke that I use with Sherwin-Williams is I say, okay, Sherwin-Williams is a Dow 30 company. They are probably one of the largest 100 companies in America, if not the world. But if you're looking at the William Sherwin Insurance Agency, that's going to be a privately held company. You may not have a you may not have a nice business profile like this for that privately held company. If you scroll down in the business demographics section, you will see that there are this particular location has 2,000 employees. They're publicly held. And I looked up this corporate sales volume last night for the year 2025. If you use AI and say, what were Sherwin-Williams corporate sales in 2025, it will say $23.57 billion. And this was updated as of April 2026. And when you have, and again, this is very similar, when you have a large company like this, it will be updated regularly. If you have Rodney Cronister's real estate agency, that's probably not going to be updated very frequently. So that's kind of it just based on the different company, that's how often it's going to get updated. There is a management directory after business demographics. In Sherwin-Williams, that's about 240 people deep, so I'm not going to show that here. But like I said, I was able to Heidi Petz. I was able to find her on LinkedIn, and like 7 of the top 10 that were in the management directory, I was able to find them on LinkedIn back in March. For time considerations today, these following sections that are in Data Axle we will not cover, and really, I don't find them very helpful anyway. Like, for example, in business expenditures, they'll tell you that they spend $100,000 on accounting. Do you think Sherwin-Williams spends $100,000 on, or $100,000 or more on accounting? Yes, I would think that Sherwin-Williams spends that much. The one thing that you might find helpful, especially if you're looking at a medium-sized business, is at the very bottom, there's a competitors report. And on these, sometimes you'll see a collapse or an expand, depending on what it is in the upper right. These would be businesses that they're not going to compete necessarily directly with the larger Sherwin-Williams, but these are like paint companies in the Cleveland area. So if you're if you're looking not necessarily for yourself, but maybe for your teenage child or your grandchild, these might be retail locations where where they might work. Now there's a couple of buttons that you'll find on the top and bottom of pages, and we're going to cover download and print, and then back and new search. Back will take you back into the where you were previously. and then new search refreshes everything and you start all over.
Hey, Joe,
Yes.
can we pause here for a second? There are a couple things in the chat I want to make sure we're addressing as we go through.
Okay.
One, can you share the webs or the website or where the software can be found again?
Public libraries. I mean, it's public libraries in your area. This isn't like dataaxle.com or anything like that. This is, you go through your public library to get this.
And so Habib is not here, right? He's in
He's in
Pakistan.
Pakistan, yeah.
Right. And so the good news is, Habib, is you don't need to be a Kenton County resident in Ohio or Kentucky, right, to get a Kenton County library card, I believe. Is that correct?
For within 100 miles of Kenton County, you can get it for free. If you're outside of that, for 50, it's a one-time $50 fee.
Yeah. Okay. And so it still may be available in libraries that you have back home too. I'm not sure. Second question was, why are some companies list why are some companies list a corporate office / sales office and not the production plant?
Because they are. I mean, okay, like Procter and Gamble is going to have their facilities in downtown Cincinnati, which is their world headquarters. They're also going to have manufacturing plants scattered around the city and, overseas and things like that. I mean, I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Okay. Well, we can come back to it and stuff. It's there. Maybe we can figure it out, but keep going on. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. That's fine. Now these buttons, download and print, are kind of the couple things that we want to see. And the one thing, data feedback. If there's some information you believe to be incorrect, you can actually click data feedback. There's a section there where you can enter information, and there were things that I knew were not correct at a company I worked at. They checked them up and they corrected them. I do not recommend download for a single result. You can, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And print will provide a PDF for the record. You can choose up to 25 records at a time, and like I said, we'll do a little more on download and print in a little bit. But on this particular example, I want to do back, and that takes us back to the original 13 companies. This little box in the upper left, if that's unchecked, if you check that, it will select everything for you instead of you having to sit there and click through 25 lines to pick them all. And then for this to download the records, downloading will let you put it into either a comma delimited Excel or tab delimited, and really the way that it works, it's all the same. I don't even know why they give you these three options up top. The second part is very important, however. Initially, until you know exactly what you're doing, I'd recommend you stay with the summary. It includes the name, address, phone numbers, and 17 additional data fields, like it says. If you use the detailed with a company like Sherwin-Williams, it will generate a column for every person that is in the list. You will get a spreadsheet that is literally 2,000 columns wide. So I do not recommend that. And what it'll do is it will default to the largest company, and that's how wide your spreadsheet will be. And it's if you're maybe working with smaller to medium-sized companies, detailed might be a little better, but I wouldn't recommend detailed for this. I would recommend sticking with the summary if you're going to export this to a spreadsheet. And you can either download the records to a spreadsheet or you can email them to yourself typically what I do when I'm using this is I'll download them and then save them off to my to the hard drive on my PC or to a thumb drive if I'm at the library. Or you can email the records to yourself. And so those are the ways that you can save the records of what you've done. Any questions on this so far? Got anything? Going once, going twice? Okay, if you do print, print will provide a PDF, and this is kind of more the way that I prefer to do it. For those of you who have come to JSFG and seen what I call the Binder Binder that has the different companies in it, this is what I'm doing is to get a print. If you do a summary, what you'll get is a sheet like this. It'll show the company and it'll print it out like so. Detailed would provide a PDF for all the data and the records. For Sherwin-Williams here, it would be about 50 pages. And then this is what I recommend if you want to print out a series of records, is to do custom and then pick these particular, the ones on page 9. The location info has the general, like where they're located at, the industry profile, the business profile, the business demographics. That says like the 2,000 employees and what their sales were and things like that. The management directory, and then the competitors report is kind of optional. Depends on what size company you're dealing with. And then you can do preview, and it'll tell you that your preview is ready, and then you can view it. I can go into an example like that if you want to see it. It would take probably about 2 minutes to generate. We might hold that for the end if for time constraints. Any questions on anything you've seen here so far? Habib has his hand up. Did he put something in the chat, or did he just have his hand up?
Oh, I'd like to ask you about Mr. Joe. Could you repeat about the download section again? Sorry for not catching that up.
The download will send it to a PDF. So it's like when you download will print a PDF, and so I would, if you're going to do that, do the custom, and then pick these 6 options on the right. I think the other ones, they're not, in my opinion, they're not very helpful for a job seeker. If you're trying to do like the history of Sherwin-Williams, okay, maybe you would find that the other one's helpful, but typically to keep the size of your file, at a decent length, these would be the 6 that I would recommend. Did that answer?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much for answering that.
And then, like I say, you click this preview, and then that'll generate the PDF. It was for this particular thing, for those 13 listings, it was 27 pages with these 6. If you took everything, it was 50 pages if you did the detailed. So that it cuts your data to review about in half, which is kind of what you're looking for. That's really the end of the quick search. And like I say, that's when what the company is.
Hey guys, by the way, both of the PDFs that he's sharing to kind of walk you through the system, I shared in the chat earlier. I'll gladly bring them back in for anybody else who popped in late or whatever. But yeah, they're in the chat, so you can always reference these when we get off of here. Okay.
Okay, so if you would go back and click New Search, it would take you back to the original screen, and this is the advanced search. You would click this tab. Can everybody see this tab circled in red? Rodney, can you
Yes.
see that on the screen?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to this advanced search, and initially on the upper right-hand side of the screen, when you don't have anything in there, it will show you the view result and the update count. Once you make some changes and you want to see how many records you might be down to, you can choose update count, and it'll show you that you're at 274 or 1,088, whatever it is. And then you can say, okay, I don't really want to look through 1,088 records. I'm going to do some additional filtering. And then you can, and then once you have that down to a number that you want, then you click view results and you'll see the results. So these are the different, down the left-hand side of the screen, I did cuts and pastes of the different options that you have on page 2. These are the options that you have. The ones that we're going to look at primarily in here are the business type, the geography, and the business size. Those are kind of 3 really quick ways to narrow down the options, and you can use combinations. If you wanted to see how many businesses are within a mile radius of Sherwin-Williams, or like I say, if you're using this to do fundraising for a school or church, you can put in that address. If you're looking for, if you're trying to help your kid find a job, you can say 5 miles of my house, and you can type in your house address, whatever. But within 1 mile of Sherwin-Williams, when we do the view results, there's 4,870 businesses within 1 mile of Sherwin-Williams. Now, again, I did this back in March. If you did this today, it might be 4,903, or it might be 4,858, or it might actually be 4,870. I don't know. But these numbers might not be exact if you're, trying to follow along on a library website. But I don't really want to look at 4,870, so I'm going to show some other ways to filter. You can filter by county. So if you have a zip code that crosses counties, or if you have like Cincinnati and you want to just filter down to Hamilton County, or in Cleveland, if you have addresses you just want to filter down to Cuyahoga County, you can do that. If you just use this, in Cuyahoga County, there's about 82,000. I believe in Hamilton County, I want to say it's about 63,000. Again, I did this for Beechwood. You can filter down to Beechwood, Ohio, or any other. There's a whole raft of cities in here that you can filter down to. In Beechwood, it was 3,300. You can also filter on zip code. 441 is the primary area for Cleveland. 452 is it for Cincinnati, and is it 454 for Columbus, or am I hallucinating there?
740
What's that?
for zip codes. Oh,
What's the primary 3?
454.
454. Okay, for Columbus. So, depending on that, you can either put in that, or if you want to go down to exact zip codes, you can put in, whatever 2 or 3 or 5 zip codes you want to, and do that. When I put in those 5 zip codes there, the results in Cleveland were 4,600. If I just did the 3-digit, it was about 79,000 companies. You need 1 job, so you're going to be filtering down, more than that. Metro area. Basically what happens with metro area is depending on the size of the city, this gets a little bigger or a little smaller. But think about like the center point of downtown Cleveland or downtown Cincinnati or Columbus or whatever. It goes out about 35 to 40 miles outside of that. If you think of Cincinnati, we have I-275 that goes around the city. If you think about I-275 and then expand that out about 15 miles more, that's what you'll get out of Metro Cincinnati. Out of Metro Cleveland, you would probably get probably almost all the way over to the Ohio Pennsylvania border, and then probably in like a little bit west of Cleveland, probably 25 miles west of downtown Cleveland, and then 25 miles south of downtown Cleveland would be what you would get. As of March 8th, 2006, that's 127,000 businesses. For Canton, Massillon, it ends up being about 19,500. Does that explain metro area?
Mm.
Okay. And in Cincinnati, it's a little weird. You can pick Cincinnati, Ohio from Indiana. You can pick Cincinnati, Ohio from Kentucky, or you can pick Cincinnati, Ohio from Ohio, and the result is exactly the same. So if you want to look at Cincinnati and Indianapolis, I would use Indiana as the state and then pick Indianapolis and Cincinnati, and you could see the companies from both. Does that make sense? Okay. Omit. This is kind of one of those things. If you're, you can omit certain things. So like if you had the metro area of Cleveland, but you wanted to omit Cuyahoga County, you kind of wanted to look in a particular region that's outside of Cuyahoga County, you can do that. And once you screen off Cuyahoga County, it goes from 127,000 records to about 44,000 records. And then in Cincinnati, if you pick metro area Cincinnati and you say, I want to work in Ohio, I don't want to go to Indiana, I don't want to go to Kentucky, you can omit the states of Ohio and Kentucky, or I'm sorry, Indiana and Kentucky, and it'll just show the Ohio businesses, or vice versa. If you live in Indiana, you can eliminate Kentucky and Ohio. So the omits are at the very bottom. There's another, this is my note here. The thing I think is really odd about Data Axle is that they include kiosks and ATMs. So there is a specific option where you can eliminate kiosks and ATMs. So if you're dealing in a downtown area specifically, it will get rid of, if you're specifically dealing in a downtown area, I would recommend that you go to the bottom and do eliminate kiosks and ATMs. So that's why they're included, I don't know, but they are. For those who say, I want to work for a particular size company, this is the, we're going to go over number of employees and then also sales. There's a thing in here where they do have these nice little groupings of numbers or, for numbers of employees. If you don't like these options, you can go click show more options. And then there's a couple of things here that that show up. They talk about both corporate and location, corporate only or location only. This can get a little weird, but corporate means you're just looking at the size of the company. So like with Sherwin-Williams, that's over 60,000. So if you say, I want to look at a corporate size that has over 50,000 employees, you would get, what'll happen though is if you put in corporate and they have in the data item that there's 100 people that work at that location, but the corporation has 60,000, it will show those records even though there's only like 100 people at that location. So you got to kind of watch how you use that. And then this will, if you go into the show more options, you'll get the from and the to. This is exactly the number of employees that you want. So like these options up here, if you say, I really want to look at 75 to 150. Well, they got 50 to 99 and 100 to 249. But you want to see 75 to 150. You can come down here, plop in 75 in the from, plop in 75 in the from, 150 in the to, and then it'll show you those examples. Or if you wanted to do 125 and up, you just put 125 in the from, leave the to blank, and it will run as high as you want. Does that make sense? So there's a couple of Cincinnati examples here. Brian Bellman, wake up.
I'm here.
Here's wild flavors for you. This is that information is in there. So I use this one because I didn't know a lot about specific Cleveland area companies, but you can find these kinds of records in there. And notice here the location employees is 337, but the corporate is 2,500. So depending on how you use that corporate only and location only, you might see this or you might not. If I'm filtering for 1,000 employees, it will appear for the corporate only or corporate in location, but it would not appear for the location only. So
Just out of curiosity.
So that's kind of how you have to look at the number of employees. Okay. So if you've taken logic classes, when they tell you or, that means either one can be true. And with and, they both have to be true. The way that they do it, it's exactly the opposite. It's kind of confusing for me how to explain that, but like I say, if I put in 1,000 employees and I say I want location only, this will not appear. But if I say corporate only or corporate in location, because the corporate is over 1,000, it will appear. So,
Joe, just out of curiosity, how old is this record?
March 8th was, I think, one I presented to Beechwood. So it's
Okay.
like, okay, I don't want to get into an argument about there's more than 337 employees or there's less than 337 employees. I don't want to get into that here.
No. I was just looking at the name. That's all.
This is what was in the record when I pulled it.
Okay.
So, but does that just make sense as to, and if anybody has questions about page 10, you can look me up on LinkedIn and I'll show you afterwards what happens or how this thing works if you're looking at number of employees. But any other questions on how to filter on number of employees? Okay, this next result shows 5 to 9 in the location and 2,100 for the corporate employees. So these are the kinds of things, if I say I'm looking for corporate employees over 2,000, this is going to show up even though the location is 5 to 9. And that's not really what you want, but you're going to have to deal with that a little bit. So if there's any questions on that, like I say, look me up on LinkedIn and I'll be happy to do a little Zoom session with you on the side afterwards. Sales volume options. The one thing I want you to notice here, if you click on the show more options here and you go to enter sales volume in here, sales volume is in thousands of dollars. So if you want to do 1,000,000, you put in 1,000 here, and then 5,000,000, you would put in 1,000 and 5,000, and that's actually 1,000,000 to 5,000,000, if that's the type of sales that you're looking for. So for the number of employees, it's the actual number. For sales volume, it's in thousands. So that's a differentiation that you need to understand. And also, if you're looking at government offices or nonprofits, they typically do not have sales numbers. So if you say, "Gee, why doesn't the Salvation Army show up in here when I put in sales volume?" I know that they have, I know that they sell things. A lot of nonprofits don't show sales numbers, so you got to kind of think of that way. This major industry group is this is the thing where you take the codes that we had in the beginning, and then you can expand these out. Wherever you see a plus sign here, you can keep expanding out. So initially, 5200 31-07 was the primary for Sherwin-Williams. So you would come down here, expand this 52, and then it expands down even more. And I go through several, there's several pages of these. You can see all of these different classifications, and this 52, like I say, was where Sherwin-Williams was. And then there's a checkbox at the bottom where you can say search primary SIC only. So if you have some conglomerate that has 32 different types of businesses, you want to make sure that you click the search primary only, or you're going to get 32 different kinds of businesses in your search that you probably maybe only want one or two of those. If you leave that unchecked, you'll get more results. And when I did this initially, it yielded only 21 results, or it yielded 21 results when I didn't click that. It yielded 10 when I did. And then these results on the next page were paint companies. So this is the Sherwin-Williams still comes in. And then with the other filters that I had in there, you get some Home Depots, you get some Lowe's, and you get some other hardware companies. So, and like I say, as long as there's plus signs, you can keep expanding this, to get what you want. And so, like to go beyond the 3274 or 3724, which was one that I had done previously, but the 5231-07, if you came down to the 5231, you could expand that, and then you'd find the -07 and you could use that. For those of you who want to work with nonprofits, take a look at page 18, and I realize those are primarily Cincinnati based, but go through those drop downs on these codes in here, and they're mostly in the 80s. You'll notice. I think there was one that, like Ohio Valley Goodwill, is 59, but look through those, and then those are kind of the different nonprofits you'll find. Most of those are going to be in most of those codes are going to start with 8, and that's kind of really what I have to present today. What questions do you have?
So Rita asked, how does a business get listed in the program?
Okay, yeah, there's things that you're not gonna find, like Bill and Sally's business that they're operating out of their garage. My guess would be that you have to have probably like at least something filed with the state as far as a corporation or entity. You would have to be of a certain size to be in here. Or Charlie's grass cutting service probably isn't going to be in here if Charlie's, your 14-year-old grandson. It's just kind of one of those things that you would need to have some kind of an incorporation, have some size and probably generate some kind of public records that would end up in here. Any other questions?
Feel free to unmute and ask, guys.
If you want to see an example, I can go through one. And what I'm going to do here though is I'm going to,
because it's 10:50, so
okay.
Let's hold it to questions. And what I'd like to do is just kind of go to some breakouts, give everybody a chance to meet some folks, and then also discuss kind of like, how do you see this fitting into your either your business or your job search at this point, right? And maybe you can brainstorm some other ways to help narrow down that search. Hey, lots of great information. Use the data and the information that you learned today, right, to go out there, narrow down that search, narrow down the things that you're looking for in your life or your career or your job, right? And make the best out of the rest of the week, man. Have a great week, everybody. I love you guys. All right,
Randy,
next Tuesday, where we got some personal development topics come into play on value proposition and I don't have it memorized, but it's about competitive advantage. All right. Love you guys.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
good job. Thank you.